I watched many art kit videos here on YouTube in my free time, and I have always found them funny and relatable. Of course, they are relatable. Most of us art kids do go through the same treatment, no matter the country or the time period. I can relate to a teenager talking about their upbringing in this matter and say, yep, 100% true. I went through all of that too, even if I am over 10 years older than them right now, and I will probably still be saying that 10 years from now. But in the videos I watched, we don't really talk about the burden of choosing this path, or what happens when art becomes your identity as a kid. Sure, others will now pick you for their group if art is needed in group project. Your art grade will be commented on if it's not the best in the class, or if your art doesn't get the best spot in the classroom competition, it will be commented on heavily. Look at that! Oni's work is not in the best spot in the hall. My work was so good it would have overshadowed everyone else if they were there, Rebecca! I have seen many kids and teens movies about competition in their hobbies. Most of the time, competition is seen in sports, which is understandable. There's always a winner and a loser. Music is also used in kids' competitions about who can sing or play the best. But I have not really seen that in art. Maybe because people think art is not competitive enough. There are art competitions in school all the time, and sure, it's not the most exciting idea to make a movie about. Oh no! I lost my grandmother's marine blue, ultra rare violet paint that she gave me on her deathbed, and I cannot finish my art for tomorrow's art competition. My future is ruined, and I will never get into the university I've always dreamed about. My family legacy of well-known artists in the same school will die with me.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
Bros! No magical paint tubes were involved in my case, but the competition was definitely real, because do you know what happens when you put 2 or even 4 art kids in the same classroom? A silent, kinda toxic competition between those art kids. That is what happens, well, at least for some of us, and I was one of those lucky people. When I was in elementary school, I met the first kid in my class who was as passionate about art as I was. I didn't compete with kids in the lower or upper grades, only with people in the same grade and the same classroom as me. Now, this girl and I got along quite well. She had her friends and I had mine. I even went to her birthday party and I let her write in my friend's book. But because we both liked art, there was always rivalry between us when it came to art class or random sketches we drew during breaks. Neither of us ever said we were better at art, but we were both thinking about it 100%. I cannot be the only competitive artist. I know those eyes she had. She wanted to be called the best, just as much as I did. I remember wanting to beat her in every possible way when it came to art. There was no peace in my mind. She was an enemy in my territory, an enemy who, as far as I know, eventually stopped doing art altogether. So the rivalry between us in elementary school was for nothing when the opponent did not choose this path in the end. But that only means that I won! I'm better than her! Haha, suck it! Surely I would never have another art rival again. I was wrong. The battle didn't end in elementary school. In junior high school, I ended up with a new art rivalry in my class. Completely unplanned! Whom I even made a whole video about. The worst kind of friends. So I'm not going to talk about them in this video. go watch that video if you want a deeper look into my art rivalry in junior high school. All I will say is that she is also struggling with art now, but that is because she went to art school, and we all know art school can kill artists. So, free win? I won again! 2 out of 2! I knew my passion for art wouldn't end after school. The other burden of being an art kid is that it takes time from your life. People like to say to artists, "You were born with a gift." But there was never a gift. I chose to stay inside and draw. I chose art over spending time with my friends. If I went to my friend's place, we drew. Every day was for art. Almost every waking moment was for art. If I were in school, I would doodle. If I were at home, I would be in my room drawing. I have a good amount of childhood memories, but I know I would have had even more if I hadn't chosen to draw all the time. But I don't regret it. I love the freedom of creativity that my hands can give me. I love being able to hyperfixate on a character and draw them over and over again endlessly, to be seen as sick psycho who should be locked in a padded room. Wait, what? One of the biggest enemies in my art kid journey was, of course, my parents. They wanted me to choose a life path that would be safer and more financially secure when I become an adult. Were they right? Perhaps. I also used a lot of printing paper for drawing, and they probably did not like that either. But in the end, their concerns did not stop me, and I kept drawing. They are more accepting of my art now, and sometimes even show interest in seeing what I draw. Even the more mature art I make, they support that too. Wait. You show those pictures to your parents too? Are you crazy? I do show those pictures to my parents, yes, and they do know what I can draw and what I sometimes draw. I'm not going to show those drawings here or tell anyone where to find them, ever. I am happy that my parents support that part of my art career too, as I know some parents would not take it kindly and would probably give a hard whooping. But moving on from this lore about my skills, I've gotten a lot of different comments about my art from my peers in different schools. Some were impressed, some teased me for drawing in the middle of the class, and some were scared of how well I could draw. But one comment I heard years ago from someone who stayed in school with me for years has stuck with me ever since. A girl from my elementary school, who also ended up in the same junior high school class as me, once asked me in surprised voice, "You still draw after elementary school?" It was a harmless question. I know that. But I took it very personally, and even after more than 10 years, I still think about it. I think more deeply about how I felt back then. What do you mean? I was supposed to stop? Is drawing really something people expect you to drop immediately when you get older? Was it really that dorky to still draw at age 14? Why is my passion treated like something I should quit because I'm too old, while people who play sport can continue their hobby their entire lives without comments like that? In people's eyes, they are building a career, but I will always be seen as a failed artist, no matter what I do. Even if art were just a hobby, an escape mechanism, a way for me to relax, I should still apparently drop it Because now that AI is also here, people are trying to push artists down even more, as if our passion has become unnecessary. But if I were a kid right now, would I still choose art? Yes, I would choose art in every timeline, even if I am not the best.